So I've really been enjoying this Kraton EXB ever since I got it, and honestly, I have not been nice to this truck. I've taken it to the skate park. I've done nonstop backflips with it. I destroyed its first body, which is why it's got the previous generation EXB body on it. But the most recent break, even though it still works and it does have plenty of power, the steering servo is failing on it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So, see the horn. See how much slop is in there before it actually does anything? That's actually the gears inside of the servo are damaged. And I think it's hurt the electronics a little bit because the warmer that little servo gets, you can sit there and watch the front wheels just randomly start to drift right to left with no input. You do some input, they go straight again, but I think I just wore them out. So, time to throw another perfect pass servo in one of these. I've been using these in a few of my rigs so far, and I really like these servos. They are a bit costly, but if you go on Amazon, they're about $30 cheaper than anywhere else. I think they're about $120 on Amazon. Where everywhere else are $150 or more. These I have one on my Max. I have one on my XRT, and I forget what the other car is I have one on, but I've been beating them ever since then, and there's been no problem with these servos. So I'm going to go ahead and slap it in and see what the difference is, just for comparison again. That's a shame. That stock servo is still nice and fast. You just got too much slop. Let's see what the perfect pass does. So they don't exactly make this thing easy to get out. You gotta unbolt the speed controller and this plate for the speed controller via all the screws on the bottom side, just so that they can have the wires hidden up underneath of it. Not really a big deal, but it about doubles the time to swap out the servo. But back to the power tools. Well, it does make the install a little bit more time consuming. At least it does keep those wires up out of the way. So I see why they did it. Makes a little bit more sense now. It's my first time pulling one of these apart. Let's continue on with the install. Got to remember to put those little rubber isolators on his feet just to help protect that servo a little bit more too. Plastic, so you never want to drive it all the way down. Just enough to get it in there. Whoops. Just enough to get it in there. And then hand tighten the rest of it. Now do the rest by hand. And before you put the servo back in place, you want to take out these little rubber boots and or isolators and the little brass pins or copper pins. I don't know what the heck they're made of. Probably brass. So you just take the little rubber boot and you slide it over. Like so. And then you take your little pin that retains it, just slide it through the bottom side. Of course, since I'm doing it on camera, it's going to be more difficult. Okay, there we go. You get it in there. And now we're ready to bolt the servo down. So we'll move on to that and see what's next. Now that that's all done, got to center the servo and get the horn hooked up. And because I don't really like tightening everything down via the impact, because you can never know, you might strip something out. By the way, something I forgot to mention is if it is a screw going into an aluminum part like these 4 screws and also the 2 longer screws that I did on the bottom side, you always want to make sure you put a little bit of Loctite on them. If it's going into plastic, you don't need the Loctite. But if you don't use the Loctite when they go into metal, you're asking to lose screws while you're at the ramp. So now that everything is nice and tightened down, time to get that servo centered. Okay, so moving on to centering a servo. You don't need one of these little tools, even though they're only 89 cents. I don't really like them that much anyway. So I always just put them inside of the truck, make sure the transmitter is on, power up the truck. Yep. And then make sure that your radio has got your steering centered. There we go. Now I'm at 0. So now I just screw the horn onto it. It also helps if you're not stupid like me and you put the servo in properly. So let me flip that around real quick and go back to work here. Dub. Also, don't forget to put these little spacers back that go right underneath of it. I almost forgot to mention that. So there's 2 of them, 1 for each side. So now that we put the servo in the proper way, let's make sure it all works. And get your horn in place. Put a little drop of Loctite on that. Or a weak drop. Or a big drop. Grab the right size driver. Wow. That is a much faster servo. But I see I have to reverse because well, they're all a little bit different. So I'll get that straightened out. But that's pretty much all there is to replacing the servo. I love these perfect pass servos. They are so powerful, so fast. Definitely worth the money. Hope this helps somebody. I just had to show how precise and fast this servo is. This thing is very impressive. But look at the response. Love perfect pass servos. Hope you all enjoyed.